Hello and welcome to This Is. Samsung's about to release a duder, and it's gonna be
the S23, the duder edition.
S23 duder edition. We want to talk about what the S23 needs to be, what we want to see to not be absolute Snoresville.
So here's the thing. Right now, if you're considering a flagship smartphone, you have a wide variety of options. But if you want to go with the safe bet, you buy yourself an S22. Now, this is the base model, which is the best version. But you can go with the S22, the Plus, or the Ultra. But here's the thing, right? While Samsung have been on top of the Android game for, what, 11, 12 years now at this point? While a lot of competition in the Android space has come and gone, if I'm Samsung, the thing I'm going to be worried about is not the iPhone. Oh no, friends. It's the Pixel. The Pixel has gone from having so much potential but being kind of wasted to Google are on top of it right now. Not only is the Pixel 7 an incredible value, but also has really caught up to Samsung. Because one of the things that you used to be like, oh, I want a Samsung because it's gonna work, it's gonna be simple, I don't have to worry about it, and it's gonna have a lot of nice features. Guess what? The Pixel is now pretty reliable, cheaper, and has all the extra pixely goodness on top. So it's becoming, I think, a little bit more difficult to just blanket recommend a Galaxy S device.
So when I say that the S22 is boring, I said about the S21, I said about the S20. That's not a bad thing. I think the iPhone is boring, and I still daily that every day because they're really good, they're really reliable, you know what you're getting. So like being boring is not a bad thing.
You want to be competent.
Yes.
Right? You don't want to be boring and incompetent or incontinent.
That's just called OnePlus. But the Samsung line has been really boring for the past couple years because they were so good that there's like, you know, again, this I'll compare it with. It's
not boring.
I'm gonna ignore.
This is the exciting. This is the exciting phone that Samsung makes. This is the regular phone.
But again, not a bad thing. It just they haven't needed to stand out, and that's and I think that's the point I'm trying to make here. They didn't have to have these big leaps and bounds like they have in the past, because they were already leaps and bounds ahead of pretty much any other Android manufacturer. What does the S23 need to have to not be boring, to stand out against the Pixel? And it's like, to me, that's the biggest thing. Is like you say, Pixel has the pixely goodness. Yes. And Samsung doesn't have that. And that's what I think that Samsung needs to like focus on moving forward, is building a better ecosystem around the Samsung. The flip phones are gimmicky and like they're fun for some people.
You said the word. You did say the word good.
I said gimmicky. When we talked about like our last Z Flip video, I don't think I've ever seen like a 50-50 split of people being like, you're crazy, my Z Flip is the best phone I've ever had.
Yeah, the correct people.
And then the person who was, my Z Flip died 6 minutes after using it and Samsung wouldn't do anything about it. I've never seen like a 50-50 split like that.
Everyone universally loves the Z Flip. Everyone who has a Z Flip has already subscribed.
I'm gonna take him out back and fold him.
The S22, I think, was a solid device. Now, the thing is, there's obviously like the specific specs and stuff. So we're recording this. They've announced the event right now, but the event and the actual launch won't be happening for a couple of weeks.
We only know what has leaked.
That's fine.
Always take with a grain of salt the size of this.
It doesn't matter too much. Like, we're not here to talk about the specific specs. I think the more interesting thing is where Samsung is now and where they're going in the future. So if you look at the S22, right? So again, this is the base model in the best colorway. This phone was $800 when it was new. It had good specs, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, good cameras, solid build, 120 hertz display. Like, this has pretty much everything you would really need. Now, you can step up to the Plus, which in my opinion doesn't make much sense because it was a $200 upgrade and didn't deliver a whole lot. Or if you really wanted a proper upgrade, you would go to the Ultra, the 10x zoom. It's got the 108 megapixel camera. It's got the S Pen or whatever they call it these days. Like, the Ultra was kind of like the true Ultra model of the phone. But here's the thing, right? $800 and $1,200. But while that's competitive with what Apple's doing, what it's not competitive with is what Google are doing. I really think Samsung need to be looking over their shoulder at the Pixel. The Pixel 7 is $600. It undercuts this, which is already reasonably priced, by $200. And while I will say this is a little bit more of a well-rounded package, better display, you've got a better spec, and arguably pretty similar cameras, but still, with Google out here undercutting Samsung. They can't just be focused on competing with the iPhone. And so I'm going to be curious to see with not only the S23, but also the S24, if they continue with 3 devices instead of 2. And also what they do with pricing. Do they keep it the same? Does it go up to try to match what Apple's doing? Or what I think is a little bit more realistic, does it need to come down to try to fight the Pixel? I'm curious though, Kinsey, can you actually fact check me here? So I know that the S22 launched $800 and the Ultra was $1,200. But if I want to buy these right now, what do they actually cost here in January of 2023?
On Amazon, we have $650 for the S22 and a $986 for the S22 Ultra.
So they're $150, $200 off.
Okay.
That's like decent. I will still say though, the Pixel 7 makes a very strong case for itself. And that's not considering that the S23 is about to come out, right? So like price is tough here. I think Samsung need to watch their back. Google are coming for them. The Pixel has had such a like chaotic few years of they haven't really had like, you know, they've been kind of all over the place. They had a lot of issues
That's
with
the thing,
previous
like,
Pixels.
I have a hard time recommending Pixel to anyone because it's so hit and miss. I have a hard time recommending Pixel because, like I said, it's good now. Pixel was great.
Google didn't know what they were doing. But no, here's the thing. Google didn't know what they were doing with Pixel. Like every year they went a completely different route.
Right, but at what point? At what point? No. They've been making the Pixel now and the Nexus for long enough. They should have this shit figured out by now.
They do have it figured out now, right? Pixel 5 was the last of the weird wilderness years.
Pixel 6, 5 we said was good.
It was good, but
Pixel
it was
6
so weird.
wasn't.
Pixel 6 was not good, but it was a first generation product because they had just brought out Tensor,
I don't care.
the new design.
Like I want to see 7 and 8. I want to see good before I can say they figured it out.
Okay, that is fair.
That's what I'm saying.
Pixel 6 was pretty good, but had real issues. Pixel 7 has ironed those issues out. They just need to continue with that. But
right.
Pixel 7 is really, really solid, which makes the S22 or the S23, you know that you're going to get a large number of years of software support.
Yes.
You know you're getting a terrific screen. You're getting very good performance. That's the reason why I like the S22 is that this is the safe, basic, absolutely good option. Like you know that this is going to give you everything you need. And I still do think that the Pixel 7 has hit the point where I could recommend it with a completely straight face over something like this. But you just think, yes, I know that Google have still work to do. And yes, I know that the Pixel 7 is not a complete one-to-one match. It doesn't have the telephoto, it doesn't have the 120Hz display, but it's pretty close. So I'm like, what are they gonna really do with the S23 to make this the still default standard Android device while still trying to tempt people from the iPhone? I think that's a tough sell. I think they've got a real uphill battle.
I don't think they're ever gonna do that. I think that carriers, both iPhone and Android, they're saying we're not gonna switch our people. Like most users who want to use an Android phone are not going to switch over to iPhone, and the majority of iPhone users are not going to switch over to Android. And I think that the companies have kind of stopped trying to drive you back one way or another. And they're just I hard
disagree. There's one huge thing, and I know you're gonna roll your eyes. The only thing that keeps iPhone people remotely interested in Android, in my opinion, is not necessarily the S22.
Right.
It's the flip and the fold. I would say, just as a broad sort of statement, most people who are on iPhone are totally happy and don't care. But the different form factor of the Z Flip and Z Fold, that's where the interest is. That's where people are excited for.
Yeah, but
I think that's the reason why Samsung is trying to bring iPhone users over. You usually use iPhone.
Yeah.
What Android phones interest you besides
the Z Flip? Because this is an old conversation. I'm not going to buy a Z Flip either. I had a Z Flip. We talk about this every time the new Android phone comes out and every time a new iPhone comes out. The reason I'm on iPhone is because I'm on a Mac. The seamless, just switching between all these things is the value proposition for me. Because this is not a conversation between Android and iOS. And
why would people buy an S22 or an S23? Like that's the thing that I think is the real debate.
It's a safe, really good bet. You're getting a better phone. Yeah. Like you're getting better specs than you are with a Z Flip or a Z Fold. I want to bring up something that Marquez tweeted about. Yeah. And I think that this is something that Samsung needs to start doing. His tweet was, no more budget phones whatsoever. Get rid of the A, get rid of the J. The 3-year-old S22, this is the budget phone. So the budget phone is like a couple years older. Right. And then what you do is you extend the support for those phones. So you're getting, because that's essentially what budget phones are. Just the specs from 3 years ago in a slightly different build quality. But I almost always would recommend someone buy a flagship over a budget Samsung phone.
I know Marquez did the video on the budget phones. And while I do largely agree with a lot of what he and you are saying here, there are a couple of things I do think are worth considering. First and foremost, not everyone wants a used device, right?
No, I'm not saying used. I'm saying Samsung sell the S22 for for the next 5 years.
There's no way this phone, if they just sit on a warehouse with them for 5 years, they're going to suddenly start selling it for $200.
Why not?
It costs them more than $200 to make this. It just because it sits in a warehouse doesn't mean it's depreciated to the point where they can do it. The only reason that smartphones, flagship smartphones, go down in price is because they are used. They are secondhand, right? You're not going to get this new for $200, right? If you're going to spend $200 on a phone, you should probably be looking at something used, refurbished, whatever you want to call it. But something like that, I believe, is going to give you a much better experience than buying a brand new but very, very cheap device today, right? Because even a flagship from a few years ago was very, very competent. And while I do agree that software support needs to be extended, I'm going to say, I think Samsung pretty much has one of the longest support windows of any device outside of an iPhone. But we're already to the point where flagships from the last year or two are offering you 5 years of support.
Samsung is 4 years of One UI and 5 years of security updates.
There you go. 4 or 5 years is a lot of time. So you figure something like an S22, right? It's about a year old right now. Say you're gonna buy this used in 1 to 2 years, right? So it's a 2 or 3 year old phone. It's probably gonna be $200, maybe $250, right? At that point, you will still have 1 to 2 more years of security updates. And assuming that you're able to get a refurbished one that has a nice screen and the battery isn't completely trashed, this is gonna be so much better than any budget phone you're gonna be able to get. Now, there's an argument there that that's where these S22s and S23s really land, is not so much buying them new today, but being a very, very good phone in the future. But I'm telling you that right now, today, I have a hard time recommending non-Pixel 7 devices at this price point.
So
the
then
Pixel 7 is so good.
Maybe that's the takeaway of this. Of don't buy a new phone. I mean, we're kind of at that point with cars now. Like, it's very rarely justifiable to buy a brand new car.
Oh, absolutely. You should almost always get it used and
even
save.
a year old is going to be a massive discount. We've said this for how many years now reviewing phones. It's a good upgrade. It's not a big upgrade. We're done with leaps and bounds. Everything that we're getting is incremental. What does the S23 need to do to sell me on it? It needs to not exist. No. All the specs that they would put in the S23 needs to just go in the Z Flip. Stop making me choose between having the interesting form factor or a slightly better phone. This is all really good for Samsung, but for the consumer, I have to trade off every single product now, or I have to spend a ludicrous amount of money to get like the Ultra. That's really the only thing that would really interest me to get the like an S23 or whatever is incorporating the other lines, kind of like they did with the Note. So, like, if I had a folding, fully spec'd phone that had the S Pen, that's basically all of what they have to offer, then that entices me. But at the moment, it's a really good phone that a lot of people should get, but they probably shouldn't get new. It's not going to be that much better than your old phone. Yeah. And it's going to be a lot cheaper if you buy the model year down.
So, is the theoretical recommendation here, if you were buying a phone in 2023, to fall into one of 3 buckets. If you want a phone that's a couple $100, you want something that's on the budget end, you should almost certainly look for a used flagship that's either an iPhone or, you know, a S20. If you want something that's sort of like mid-priced, you should just buy a Pixel 7. Like straight up, you should just buy the Pixel 7. And if you want something that's expensive, go treat yourself to a Z Flip. Is that what we're saying right now? Because I think that's what I'm going to say. Samsung Galaxy Z Flip.
Z Flip the out. If you mention Z Flip one more time. It's good features and it's great to have. But like the way people talk about specs, they act like their life depends on these specs, and they don't.
Excuse me, Matt, if I don't have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, I will literally die.
I'm glad that your battery in the phone is operating your pacemaker. But like I'm a food photographer for ants, so I need that 200 megapixels to be able to crop in on the smorgasbord. Instagram is...
Did you mean to say Instagram? Okay, I was just making sure you meant to say that. Okay, good.
Again, I just think that a big part of this conversation, why it's so hard to get excited for Samsung phones, is because at any given time, 8 phones in their line? But this is just the American market. I think that Samsung should just simplify their lines, because what is the flagship of Samsung right now?
Z Flip.
No, it's not. No, like actually look me in the eye. What is the flagship?
Z Fold and S22 Ultra are the flagships right now. Do that in a Z Flip. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Samsung, you're great, and I will continue to buy Z Flips forever. And I'll probably keep buying S22s and 3s and stuff if you keep giving me good colorways like this one or the green one that's coming on the S23.